name is Glennette Tilley Turner, and I'm the author of Fort Mose, the story of a man who built the first free Black community in Colonial America. Our family lived in St. Augustine, about 3 miles from Fort Mose, when I was in junior high school, but no teacher or textbook ever mentioned the existence of Fort Mose. It was about 40 years later when a cousin of mine who lived in New Jersey called to tell me about a New York Times story that she'd read. It said that there was an excavation being done in St. Augustine at a place called Fort Mose, and it gave something of the history of Fort Mose. I was fascinated and just wanted to know more about it myself, and also was inspired to write about this previously missing page of American history. I learned that Fort Mose had become a southern destination of the Underground Railroad. So many of the stories I'd read of the Underground Railroad talked of Canada as the promised land, but for enslaved Africans from South Carolina, or who escaped from bondage in South Carolina, St. Augustine and Florida were the desired destination. Many people learned that if they heard by the grapevine, in fact, that if they escaped from slavery in South Carolina and reached Florida, they would be freed. They would be required to join the Catholic Church and to join the militia, and then they would be freed. And so it was a great incentive for many people to escape. One of the people, the person who was the person who founded the first free Black settlement, was Francisco Menendez. He had escaped from slavery in South Carolina, but he was a lifelong learner. He had been a lifelong learner from the time he was a child in Senegambia to the time that he was enslaved in South Carolina, and later joined the Spanish militia, and then, of course, founded Fort Mose. He knew many languages and was really very much a skilled and Renaissance man. Fort Mose was a very viable settlement, and really was on the outskirts of St. Augustine, and helped as a first line of defense in defending the city of St. Augustine. Nothing can be seen of the original Fort Mose today. After a change in the water level, the land on which Mose stood is underwater, and the location of the second Mose is on an inaccessible island. However, visitors can learn the story and get a sense of what it was like through the excellent displays at the museum, at the tourism center, and through the books and gifts that are available there. And there are often many excellent reenactments that can be observed. My next book is called A Man Called Horse. It's about a man by the name of John Horse, and he was born quite near St. Augustine, and his story is also an Underground Railroad story. He fought in the Second Seminole War, and later when he and his people were removed to Indian Territory, they found conditions so unsatisfactory that he and Seminole Chief Wildcat took their people to Mexico, where they knew that slavery had been abolished. John Horse was a leader there in Mexico for 20 years, and then the United States Army invited John Horse's people back to to return to the United States to defend the Texas border and make it safe for settlement, where they fought as the Negro Seminole troops. And he just really was such a remarkable man. You will enjoy reading about him when the book is released in fall of 2021. And we'll find that this Underground Railroad story and the Fort Mose story are really excellent to read in tandem. Thank you for sharing your interest in this story, and I hope you will enjoy reading The Man Called Horse as well as Fort Mose.